Why do West Ham want to sign Harry Maguire? He's not been very good for a couple of seasons. He makes lots of mistakes. But what if David Moyes knows exactly what he's doing? Last season, West Ham tried to change their tactical profile to more of a creative, possession-based team. They very quickly realised that wasn't working and ditched the plan and went back to David Moyes' basics, which of course are
crosses, 4, 2, 3, 1, 5 to win, big physical nerds.
Harry Maguire embodies all of these different individual aspects of David Moyes' basics. In fact, we can see it in the data. Look at what Harry Maguire has done in the Premier League since 2016-17, his debut year in the Premier League. He played for Hull. Over those last few years, 2016-17 to now, this is where he ranks in terms of passes. He's the 4th most, touches 4th most. You get the idea. The statistics show he's really good, and you can look at this and say, well, this is total numbers. How about per 90? Same thing, it's still high, still profiles as a good Premier League centre-back. And yes, he's been pretty terrible for Man United the last couple of seasons, but he's been very good for England. And that's because England play a very conservative, pragmatic style of football, which suits Harry Maguire. When he's nice and deep in these positions, these are passing maps from the World Cup. When he's here able to pass the ball, play it to a left back, to have lots of dialogue with one of 2 central midfielders, that's when he's really decent. So you stick Maguire in the West Ham team, they play a 4-2-3-1, he's the left centre back, exactly where he wants to play, he can do this sort of thing here. But there's a problem. West Ham already have a very good left-sided centre back in Nayef Aguerd. He was signed for 35 million euros, and you think we'd have a place in David Moyes' plans. But we can look at the difference between them both. Here's Harry Maguire's stats. The important bit is the green down here and the aerials percentage 1 here. Whereas Aguerd doesn't really profile in the same way. He can switch the ball, sure enough, not quite as good in the air. He's not as good at carrying the ball as Harry Maguire is, so you get a stronger player in the box to head things away in Maguire, and you get a better ball distributor and carrier. And Maguire's strengths suit exactly how West Ham want to play, and the way they want to play is on the counter with a deeper line. Now Maguire is caught out a lot from Man United when they play a high line, so if the line is here, this is good because he can see all the pitch in front of him. When they push it higher up and he's in a bit of trouble amongst lots of bodies, that's when the errors start to creep in. And so of course, if West Ham are sitting deep and then Maguire's in the box amongst his other big lads, he can win the header, take it down, then he's the kind of player who can carry it out and then distribute the ball to the runners to suit the style of play that West Ham want to play. Because the majority of West Ham's goals come from either the counter-attack or set pieces. West Ham only scored 23 goals in open play last season in the Premier League. They scored 11 from set pieces. Obviously that's very, very important. And also, West Ham are linked with signing James Ward-Prowse, who would then give you elite level delivery. Who better to have in the box for elite level delivery than players like Zuma, Maguire, Souček, all the top big lads. So lots of chances created from set pieces, using Maguire's giant head as an advantage. And here's another example where Maguire's skill set would be very useful. A long ball from the back in the Europa Conference League final. Outsteps Maguire to smash the ball away. He wins the header. It goes into a bit of a mix in the midfield. The ball is played in behind that space that Moyes is trying to create with his deeper team. And Jarrod Bowen races away to score the winner. But hang on a minute, that wasn't Harry Maguire. That was Nayef Aguerd. So why would you replace him with a player who makes all these mistakes? Well, how about you do something really trendy, like taking the left back out and putting in Aguerd over here. And then what you could do is play 3 centre-backs, which is better than 2. Then you've got right back can push up, which means Jarrod Bowen can play more inside, which means you get this nice looking shape in your final third. That's a good looking front 5 with Souček box crashing and the protection from these 3 with Maguire the deepest so that he can then look at the whole pitch in front of him and play the ball around. Well, that might work. Looks like I've solved it. Harry Maguire sounds like a fine purchase. Or does he? Because as we see his stats where he's very good at things, look at what he's bad at. Errors leading to shots. He's the 6th most of this over the entire time he's been in the Premier League. That's not very good. But how could a player who makes so many mistakes become an England-level central defender? Well, perhaps it's not all his fault. Bear with me now as I try to explain to you some of the errors he's made and where they've come from. Look at a really high profile one here. This is in the Europa League against Sevilla. So what we have here is the ball being played back to De Gea, then Maguire's taken the right decision to move into a central position between 2 other defenders. So there's nice spacing, so there's lots of angles and room for passing. That's the right thing to do. All De Gea has to do is fizz this pass into him with a bit of weight. He can take it or move it on. Lots and lots of options for him here. But as you can see, these players know this is going to happen and they all start to circle in him and nip in like sharks. They're going for him right now. Now Maguire doesn't like sharks and he's not scanned at all this side of the pitch. All he's done this entire time is look and face at De Gea. He tends to be better when he's facing the play, and so the ball comes in here, he hasn't scanned because it's not his thing he does. He then has to make a decision really quickly as these players come in on him, and he loses the ball by playing a weak pass, poor technique. These guys nip in and Sevilla score. That's a bad mistake that is his fault. Or is it? What if we look at what he should have done and analyse it that way? As I said, the right decision is going to this position here to receive the ball. The real problem is that De Gea takes far too long to receive this ball and take a touch. It takes far too long to receive it, and then takes too long to make a decision, then doesn't put any weight on the pass whatsoever. If he had fizzed this in like he's supposed to, the ball would already be at Maguire and wouldn't be here. It would have been straight to him. Then Maguire could either have taken a touch and turned at the same time. He does have bad body positioning. He should be more side on or quarter on rather than just facing flat. But regardless, the ball came in with power, he could then have spun or dummied it, let it go through, and they'd be away. That's what they could have done. So because it trickles towards him, he's got to make a last-minute decision. That is De Gea's fault as much as it is Maguire's. And at West Ham, you've got Fabianski or Areola, who are miles better than De Gea at passing the ball. So with a better pass from a goalkeeper who can actually pass the ball, Maguire won't be dragged into a rondo in his own box, and they won't be playing to his weaknesses rather than his strengths. But let's not defend him all the way because he makes these mistakes quite often. Here's another one. Here's him against Southampton. Maguire carries the ball out as instructed, trying to be the guy who brings the ball into here. The ball goes to Shaw. All he's got to do is pass in to Harry Maguire. Same problem is that Maguire does not scan behind him. He's not Busquets. He shouldn't be in this position. All he's got to do is play this pass backwards. He takes too long like De Gea did for the pass to him, and they're robbed. Southampton get away, and Armstrong gets a shot away, might even score, I don't even know. So this is another problem where it's Maguire's fault. But the thing is, the good thing for West Ham fans is that he won't be in this position for West Ham. Now we know that Maguire is actually quite a decent player when you can look at the play like this and see more of the pitch. He is bad when he gets into these sorts of positions and has to look backwards, because he tends not to move around. Like that should swivel. When it's Maguire, it doesn't swivel. He doesn't look around enough. He's not a pivot player. If he is on the ball in space, it'll be in this sort of position here, where you can carry it safely before there are players, then pass, then go and retreat back to that deeper position. We see him in the passing maps for England and stuff like that. That's where he'll be. He won't be in a position where he's carrying it in and trying to be part of a rondo in the midfield. All these things that make him weaker. He's not going to be part of a high line because West Ham don't play a high line, so he can't be caught out individually that way. And also he's not going to be part of some sort of bizarre structure where he's the central one with two really wide fullbacks and a goalkeeper who doesn't know how to pass the football. And the thing is, even when he does make mistakes, Harry Maguire never hides from the ball. He still shows for it. He still leads the team. He's a captain. And West Ham have lost Declan Rice, their best player and their leader. So there's a big captain void, a big captain-shaped hole in the dressing room wall. Can Harry Maguire fit through the hole in the wall? I don't know. But he might be able to be the captain because he has captain traits. And captain's traits are really important, especially for a team like West Ham who struggled so much last season and battled with relegation. And of course, if you want to play in David Moyes' team, you better embody some of the traits of a David Moyes team. Embody traits like being hard to beat, crosses, 4-2-3-1,
Fight to win, big physical nerds.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.